Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
Well, today we're going to talk about something that really impacts your life, holds you hostage sometimes, doesn't allow you to move forward. Today, we're going to talk about BS. Not what you're thinking. It's the belief system. Some would say it is BS, but it's not. It's been proven. What's actually holding you back, the beliefs that you have. And she deals with this all the time as an amazing life coach, hypnotherapist, energy practitioner, and so much more. Raquel Williams is back on the show with us. Welcome back. How are you?
Hello, Steve. I'm good. How are you?
Very well, thanks. And this whole BS belief system is something that, and we've talked a little bit about this, but we're going to go deeper today, typically goes back to your past, things that have happened in your life, especially as a child before the age of 7. And these beliefs, I guess, as you got as a child, stick with you and hold you back or shape your life, kind of govern your life, right?
They really do. They really do. And it's fascinating because recently I've been able to actually work with some children. And something that really stood out to me, a little girl that's 3 years old had a belief system around breakfast and literally started displaying like even allergic kind of reactions in her body when it was time to have breakfast, and get anger and not want to eat. And it all came down to her little brain didn't understand why after breakfast daddy had to leave and her brother had to leave. So she associated breakfast and created this belief system that said breakfast is bad. I don't want it.
Oh, and it's because I guess dad had to go to work and her brother had to go to school.
Yeah, no, it's totally because of that. But it's an example of how a child doesn't process like an adult. So if you're a child and you experience a heavy situation, we can say trauma or just something negative or something that just impacted you at a certain level, then you create a belief system around that. And that's what you carry into your adult life. And of course, it's a subconscious belief, but nevertheless, that belief system is there and it does follow you and it affects you.
And potentially for this little girl, again, this is just hypothetical theory, whatever it might be. If you hadn't found that belief with breakfast, fast forward, I don't know, 13 years, whatever it might be, 10, and she could have an eating disorder just from that one situation.
Yeah.
And not even know why that's going on.
That is correct. I see so much of that as finding these belief systems in adults that were created when they were children and how they really impact behavior, how they impact just attitude, mood, patterns in your life. It's really fascinating.
Wow. I'm fascinated even by that example, and especially a little girl. It's so understandable why she was thinking that. But the ones that blow me away are years later when people are dealing with stuff and how it's just big stuff and how it goes back to, I don't want to minimize it, but a little situation like that. What are some of the other, and this is all confidential, but what's some of the other things that you've uncovered when working with people?
You know, probably the biggest thing is dealing with unworthiness, some type of an experience in life that just told you that you weren't smart enough, you weren't good enough, you weren't pretty enough, you weren't skinny enough, you know, whatever it is, you weren't enough. And that belief system carrying over into your adult life, making you feel so inadequate. And it really manifests in different ways for different people. I work with people who are really dealing with anger. I'll use that one. And the anger goes back to this feeling. Okay, because everything is a feeling. You have the belief system and you have the feeling, right? And so that anger gets triggered whenever something triggers that belief of you're just stupid, you're not good enough, you don't know what you're doing, you don't know what you're talking about. Whenever there's anything around that area, anger is triggered. And it all comes down to that belief.
Why is there anger?
Why is there anger? God, that's a big question. I mean, anger, from what I have seen, all comes down to fear. It all comes back to this fear of not being good enough, this fear of not being smart enough, being made to feel and not understand why you're feeling this, right? So people are triggered. They get a stress response about something, especially in relationships. I mean, I work with couples all the time, and the communication between them, they are fighting about things that have nothing to do with what they think. So even the couple will say, it's so stupid. It was such a stupid thing, but it blew up. But when we get to the root of what each of them was really feeling, then they can see what the fight was really about. And it is these emotions of not being smart enough, or being disrespected because you're stupid, or she doesn't trust me, or all these things come up that have nothing to do with the fight, but everything to do with the belief system that we have to clear, so that they can get rid of that emotion that really drives that anger.
Well, there could be so much going on in the relationship, even let's say infidelity, and not necessarily because one person wasn't getting what they needed, wanted out of the relationship. That could come from the person who cheated, their issues from their childhood.
Yeah. Oh gosh, that is a big one. You're exactly right. Most of the time, cheating has nothing to do with their spouse, has everything to do with that something that they're missing.
Yeah.
That they feel like they're missing, that they just can't get. And what happens is you start to blame the person closest to you. So I'm just not in love anymore. I just don't have those same feelings. And we really put it on our partner, our spouse, our husband, wife. We put it on them to ease that pain in us, to fulfill that feeling in us. And if you can't do it, then I'm not in love with you anymore. It's your fault. We just don't have it anymore. And it's so sad, but it's actually very satisfying when I can work with a couple and I can show them that the need that you're having and the feeling that you're feeling has nothing to do with your husband, or it has nothing to do with your wife. And it's everything about the story you're telling yourself and emotions in you. It's like once you heal you, then you stop needing somebody else to make you feel good.
Mm-hmm. And if you don't, it's just going to continue. I talk with friends all the time. We sometimes we get a little deep about it. And one friend in particular, his wife had, and I don't like to use this term because of it's so maybe overused, but daddy issues. She had unresolved issues with her father, which if you look at everything, the landscape of it all goes back to the father and unresolved issues. And he left the family early and all of that. And then what did she do? She left the marriage and, cheated and all of that because she was probably looking to have that acceptance that her father never gave her. And maybe her husband partner couldn't do it the way she wanted or expected it. He could be fantastic, he could be a prince, but it's never going to meet up to whatever she was looking for or looking to replace that she didn't get from her father.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, that is completely accurate. And I'm going to add an and she brought someone into her life that made her feel the way her daddy did. And so what happens is subconsciously we make this connection with the person.
Oh yeah.
Same energy, so forth, right? And then the adult her conscious mind is like, this guy makes me feel, and she hates the way that feels. That is how she felt about her dad, whatever she was missing, however he treated her, or how, anything in that realm. So then consciously, she's like, I can't stand this guy. He keeps pissing me off. He keeps doing this. He keeps doing that. But you actually brought that into your life because subconsciously, that dysfunction, that feeling, that pattern, that emotion is what you subconsciously think is love. Here's the battle. This is the battle, Steve. Is that subconsciously we want and think something that subconsciously we do not. And that's the war in a person. And that's why when she leaves her husband, she gets in another relationship and the same crap happens again. Why? Because it's not about the person she's with. She's got to heal those wounds.
Exactly. And by the way, in the example that I was talking about before, she went on to eventually, after, number of relationships that were shouldn't have taken place, um, she wound up with a guy who looks like her father.
Her dad.
Yes.
Surprise.
It's probably, it almost sounds like it's textbook, but it is in this example. It is exactly as we're saying it is, and that's it. You need,
It really is.
and it won't change, like you said, unless it's recognized and healed. And there are so many people that will say, nothing wrong with me. Definitely that one over there. But no, it's that person needs to heal, and they don't realize it, unfortunately.
They don't realize it. And what's really sad to me, like if I could say anything to your audience right now, Steve, I would say that you don't have to live like this. If you see patterns, because these are patterns when we get into relationships and they kind of end the same way, or we keep drawing the same type of experience in, it is a pattern. It's life showing you. It's a mirror. Life is showing you what's going on. But most people will ignore that and run from it and continue to look for the perfect person that's going to make them feel whole. And the only person that can make them feel whole is them. Because once you're whole, then you can bring another whole person in and you can have an amazing relationship.
And as we've talked before, you're not going to draw that perfect whole person in. Mm-hmm. You're going to just keep drawing the people that have challenges. I don't want to say broken, whatever, but you're gonna attract them. They're coming in. Yeah. Until you purge them out, fix yourself, and realize everything. It's just rinse and repeat. Same thing. Why you hear women say, "I don't know what it is. There's no good guys out there." They're always. I keep running into the same ones.
Yeah.
I'm sorry, but there are good guys out there. Hello, how you doing?
Yes, they are.
It happens because you're bringing it in, but you don't even realize you're doing it.
No, you don't. And I want to make sure I say that it's not about being perfect, because none of us are perfect, and that's not the goal. And it's not about having a perfect guy or you're perfect. It's about healing the wounds that are causing you to repeat the patterns in life that are hurting you. So whether that is in a relationship or financially or with your children, and you keep seeing a pattern, that's a clue. That is a clue that there's something inside of you that needs to be healed. That's the biggest thing I can tell people. Pay attention. Life doesn't have to be so messy. It doesn't have to be so hard. It doesn't have to hurt so much all the time. Are we going to go through things? Yes, we are. But it doesn't mean that we have to continue experiencing things that just stab us in the heart. And that is exhausting. It's exhausting. I used to be there. I know it's exhausting. And you just think that life is unfair, that you're unlucky, right? You have all these things that go through your mind. That's just life. No, I'm here to tell you it's not just life. You can fix that. You really can fix that. And it's all tied to belief systems that you are holding.
Well, doesn't it go back to the victim mentality where you say, why does this always happen to me? And I'm not talking just about relationships. Why, I lost another job, or why, money's gone. Why does it always happen to me? Why? Bad luck, blah, blah, blah. You're asking for it, first of all, manifesting it universally, but you're also seeking it out because you haven't healed things that are floating around out there. And isn't it a great feeling, like the best feeling in the world, when you figure out what's going on, why this has all been going on all these years, all of that? Isn't that the best feeling? And I'm sure you hear that from clients all the time too.
It's freedom, Steve. You know, when you can experience some level of freedom in your mind, your heart, your body, this is where we become captive to these things. And whether it manifests in chronic pain in the body, or insomnia, or messed up finances, or you just can't find that love of your life, it keeps slipping away. It comes in all different forms, but real freedom is when you can start to enjoy life at a different level. When you start to take responsibility for what's happening in your life, and you really see yourself being the victim, when you stop that, when you learn to catch those thoughts and say, wow, I am being the victim. and take responsibility, and then just get the help that you need. If you don't know how to do that, that's what people like me do. Just get the help, right? Mm-hmm. That way you can clear the path, so to speak, so you can enjoy life. You can have that relationship or whatever it is that you desire.
I also want to point out that once you figure it out, or with the help of somebody like you to figure it out, that you're hopeful. Like, you don't look at, even you could be, it could be a horrible situation. Now, once you get a grip on life, as opposed to the horrible situation then when you didn't have a grip on all of this, and you look at it, it's like, that's no problem, because I know better is coming. You have that faith in yourself, the universe. Oh, it's okay. And there's better knocking on the door. And I don't mean that like to put false hope there. No, it's true. It's there.
Yeah, because everything catches momentum. So if you've been in a pattern of thought and energy for a very long time, there's momentum in that direction. So the moment you pattern interrupt and you start to clear that energy, you start to clear those stuck emotions that are even triggering thoughts, because, hello, here's another piece for you. There are emotions that are triggering those thoughts. So as much as you try to stop those thoughts, until you clear those emotions, they're working together in this little dance. So once you can get a grip on that, then you can have some success in changing the pattern of your thinking and start building momentum in the other direction. Because while momentum's going in this direction and it happens fast, you just keep spiraling. You don't understand. You can't even catch your breath. But once you really pattern interrupt and you start to get things going in another direction, it's like, oh my God, that's when you start to feel like there's light at the tunnel. Life starts to feel better. Opportunities start to present themselves. Different people start to show up in your life. I hate using the word magic, but it's like magic. It's like, whoa, everything starts to change.
Well, you cleared stuff out to allow things to come in, because you only have so much. Mm-hmm. And if it's taken up by things that don't support you, that you're allowing in, better be it a relationship, your belief system, whatever it is, the other stuff can't make it in. Raquel, when you talk about the emotion, how do we get a grip on that? Or does that go back to the belief system? You got to fix that first to control the emotion?
Steve, it actually goes hand in hand. There was a point in me doing the work I do that I thought it was all about clearing the belief. But what I learned is that the belief and the emotion go hand in hand. There is stuck energy wrapped around those experiences that actually created the belief. And these trapped emotions actually trap in different organs, different parts of the body. So there's literally an energy there that's humming. Okay. So it's really both. It's being able to identify where are these stuck emotions and then release those from the body while you're releasing those beliefs. And it really does go hand in hand. And it's such a faster transition for people in their life when we do this.
Wow. There is reason right there alone to change it up and kick it in, right? When you just realize that, there's better out there, and it can happen pretty fast. I talked to somebody yesterday who told me that they keep a gratitude journal, and I try to. I really need to step that up. But they told me of just writing things they're grateful for down every day. In just 3 weeks, they started noticing changes.
Yeah, those are those little shifts. Yeah, those are those little shifts that we can begin to do. Those are some of the tools that I implement as well, because gratitude is such a healing energy, but we don't take the time to feel it. We are so consumed with what we're not getting, with the things that are not happening, with the bad things that are happening. That's the momentum we have. We have that energy. That energy has momentum. It has our thoughts. It has our energy. So our bodies, our mind, and our heart get used to this frequency. So all of a sudden, you start introducing gratitude. I know when I first started doing gratitude, I couldn't feel it. And I remember thinking to myself, I'm like writing these words, but I don't feel anything. I was so disconnected from myself, Steve, and so connected from what I call goodness vibes that I couldn't feel it. So it took me a while to learn how to connect with that gratitude energy and actually feel it. But now I just say thank you. And it's like this rush I get in my body, and I attach to it. I feel it. I connect with it. And it's amazing. But I had to learn that. I had to relearn it because somewhere along the way, I was so disconnected from all those good feelings that my body just wasn't connecting to it. So yes, gratitude is a very healing energy, but we have to be intentional about feeling it because unfortunately, life today, so busy, so chaotic, so stressful, so much stuff going on, that's not being pumped through the airwaves. What's being pumped through the airwaves and social media is a whole lot of fear. And the fear attaches to all the lower level energies. So that people are feeling naturally. That's their dominant emotion. So if you want to start feeling gratitude, you got to get super intentional to start literally building up that muscle.
Wow.
Good energies.
Maybe that's why people don't do it, a gratitude journal, or they try it and they give up because it's just words on a page. It's just like, I'm writing stuff. I'm not feeling it. Well, sure, if you're not feeling it, it's
Right.
not going to resonate, and you're going to say, "This isn't going to work. I'm done. I'm moving on. It's not going to happen for me." Interesting. And
Yep.
so I guess the lesson here is if you, and you should, keep the gratitude journal, give it some time.
Yeah.
Eventually, you'll start feeling the emotion or the thank you that you're putting there on paper.
Yeah, I really try to let people know that you're in a pattern right now. You're in a thought pattern, a belief pattern, an emotion pattern that's been running for a long time. So changing that takes a little bit. It takes some new understanding, it takes some new perspective, it takes some new tools, it takes some learning how to deal with those thoughts. I mean, these are the things that I learned along the way that helped me get out of those years of when I crashed, when my body crashed, when I got sick, when everything just went down in my life. I had to learn this organically, but it's the best thing that ever happened to me because I get it now. I'm not only did I get my life back, but I'm able to teach others, how to get out of that same pit.
When you're writing your book,
I'm in the process.
are you really?
I am.
I'm just throwing that out there because your story, I had no idea. Your story is compelling, and even just the first thing that drops from the sky to my head is, a working title like 12 years gone. I don't want to say wasted, but 12, because you spent 12 years trying to figure this stuff out, having no idea why you were stuck in a certain belief system.
Mm-hmm.
And then there was the game changer, everything that we're talking about. And that's a long time there.
It really is. It really is. And that's why I know that what I'm doing is no accident, Steve, because I feel like when I went down, I literally went through a path of trying everything holistic, every diet, every program, every herb. I went Western medicine 4 or 5 years. That didn't work. I transitioned every meditation, every affirmation, but now I understand why I did it. I had to learn all that stuff to understand, to get to the point that I'm at, to really understand what works. And not that those things don't work. They're a great addition. Okay. But it's the frosting on the cake. It's not the cake. Like, you have to understand the recipe to make the cake before you can apply the frosting.
Like lipstick on a pig.
Yeah.
You have to fix it all, then try to, make it look good or make your life look good. For somebody that thinks they're living on a belief system, or thinks there are things that out there that is holding them back. It starts with conversation. You can find out, you personally can find out so much in just a 20, 15-minute call, whatever it might be, right?
Oh, yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Just hearing a little bit of someone's story tells me where they're at and what they're dealing with. And so that can gauge me into what, I feel like they need in terms of help. Sometimes it's the quick stuff. Sometimes it's not. Sometimes it's more of a program. I offer a 12-week program that's really, popular, but I believe it's because it's not just releasing some of these beliefs, but I'm teaching people how to not need me anymore. Because at the end of the day, my goal is I don't want you to need me. I want to help you gain that freedom and then teach you how to continue to apply it in your life. That's my goal.
12 weeks is a lot easier than 12 years.
Yes, it is.
Hey,
Absolutely.
how do we find you?
My website is raquelrwilliams.com, and that's RAQUEL. And there is a schedule a call button. They can schedule a free consultation, or they can call me at 415-347-6861.
Start now. Don't wait. It's all there. We all deal with it. That's the thing. We all have these belief systems that are holding us back, or basically holding us hostage from living a great life. And why would you want to do that? Raquel, thank you so much, as always. Good stuff. You make it so clear and easy to understand. And, I got to believe there are people that are maybe checking us out that, might otherwise say, that's kind of woo-woo stuff. No, it's clear what's going on here. And it's easy to fix. There's steps you can do that will make it easy.
Absolutely. Well, thank you, Steve. Always a pleasure.
And we'll talk next time.
All right. Bye-bye.
Are you looking for even more of the podcasts and hosts that you love? The Podcast Business News Network is proud to announce that you now have even more ways to listen live. Check out the MyTuner Radio, online radio box, and Simple Radio apps on iOS and Android, or find us online. Search for Business News Network on mytuner-radio.com, or search Podcast Business News Network on streama.com and onlineradiobox.com/US. Take your podcast on the go and don't miss a minute of the action.
Broadcasting from the business capital of the world, this is the Podcast Business News Network.
For nearly 2,000 severely injured veterans, everyday life has become filled with barriers.
Day-to-day simple tasks can become pretty daunting.
I have to carry my chair up 2 flights of steps or have somebody do it for me.
What scares me the most is just the falling.
When I'm struggling with my house, I think, to have that one great barrier just knocked down, it's crucial.
Home for Our Troops is a wonderful nonprofit that builds a
mortgage-free, fully adaptive, handicap-accessible house.
And there's no catch.
It'll be our very first home that we've ever owned.
This is a game changer.
This is where your life begins again.
We need you to join us in completing this important mission. Please visit hfotusa.org and help build homes and rebuild lives.
Because of you, everything's going to be okay.